Okay, this will be the video that's going to show all the different things that's going on with this particular car. Okay, let's start off with the VIN plate here. So this is BNR34-002108, and that also matches up with the numbers that are stamped right here, BNR34-002108. Okay, now looking at this vehicle after having the car for a couple months now, I have not been able to drive it very often, and then finally when I was able to drive it, I met up with some other 34 GTR owners, and then many things started to come up in conversation. Okay, so first things first, I noticed that there was a boost problem, so I started checking out and seeing what's going on with the boost. And right here on an R34 GTR should be a boost regulator type system here, and there should be some wiring that's coming out of this and coming up to here so it can plug in. However, for whatever reason, it's not there. Now, looking back at the original posting online, that system was already in place and was still there, so it was authentic, and I think everything would have been fine. However, for whatever reason, by the time I purchased the car to the point that it was received here at my home, the system was taken out, and it got me looking into other things, and I come to find out that, you know, this the lettering on this is actually white, but you know, for the R34s, they were typically yellow. So I looked at the fuse box, and I come to find out that this fuse box is just, I don't know. I've never seen anything like that. And you can clearly see that this piece here was cut up to fit in place. Now, in my report that I created and I sent to the company that I purchased, the company, its name is Japan Partner, that I purchased this car from, basically I indicated, say, look, this is what I got, and then a stock R34 GTR fuse box looks like this, and then I showed a picture of that for reference. So there is no wire that we could trace to find in order for me to even put an aftermarket boost controller on this thing. So it's just kind of odd. Okay. The other thing that I noticed is this area right here. So this is where you connect for the AC system and to recharge, and that's okay, but this is on R33s and R32 models. The R34 models, especially the GTR, is supposed to be mounted here, in this area down here. So that clearly indicates that this is kind of pieced together. Okay, I looked at the original posting as well. The radiator has been changed, although it's thicker and bigger. It's got some damage here, whereas in the original postings this was perfectly fine. This has been replaced with a really bad mount. This hosing here is different from what was in the initial post for the vehicle, as well as this. This is nice and smooth. The sticker was peeling off before in the original post. And then I start looking around. Okay, now on an R34 GTR, the box has 3 bolts, and on this car, for whatever reason, it's only 1, 2, and the 3rd bolt hole is completely missing. So as you can tell, possibly behind it, try to see if I can get down there, there is no hole. Even if this was offset and this was going into that hole, there's no hole. That tells me that this is not original. Something's off, okay? And once that happened, I started to notice that, you know, this is actually not from an R34 GTR. This is from an earlier model. This mount is incorrect. And then you start seeing all of this here. This is not stock, okay? And there's rust building up. So I thought, okay, well maybe they just replaced this part, but now it's getting rusted and maybe needs fixed again. But then I start noticing just random holes everywhere, like down here. What are these holes for? Makes no sense. You jump over to the other side. Okay, now the piping, this is supposed to be set back a little bit, and then there's a smaller pipe that goes through the metal. However, this one, you can clearly tell that this was chopped up. Okay, this is not a stock opening for the piping here. And there's just random things like just like that. So bolts, holes everywhere that just lead to nothing. Okay. Now, and even this, I mean, they completely missed this whole section here. And just such a sloppy job. Okay. Now, another item that was different is this one. Okay, I'm not sure if this is from a 33 GTR or what, but the original posting had a little clip here, tab, and let's see, some other items. Original posting had different coilover on it. They stuck out to about up here. Let's see, this piece is different from the R34 GTR. This whole section here should have several hoses coming back this way for this, with this system here. Okay, this is typically not on an R34 GTR. That's on a ER34, this piece here, and it just leads to nothing. Like, okay, there's also another item on an R34 GTR that's missing, and it's right here. I'm not exactly sure what this is for, but that piece is gone. Okay, moving on. How do you call it? What do you call this? Igniter pack, I believe. This is for the 32s and 33s. You don't see this on R34 GTRs anymore. So they went with a different type of system setup. So this clearly tells me that this motor is just pieced together, right? I purchased what I thought was a BNR34 GTR. And what I got was a hacked up, pieced together Skyline. Okay, it's just not acceptable. Okay, there's some other items such as, if you went down here, because the boost regulator, everything is gone, they basically put a hose here, and it's that black hose right there that's kinked. I noticed that there's a boost issue, so I found out that, hey, they just trying to recirculate the pressure there, you know, so it only goes up to about 0.5 bar something, 0.558 bar. Okay, another item that's different is this one. This is not a BNR34 GTR item. Okay, it's much smaller and different color than what it's supposed to be. Okay, and I'm also afraid that this system here is also not from a BNR34. All these wirings and whatnot it's a little different from what I've seen on other cars. Okay, so what really worries me and bothers me is the fact that this is terrible work, for one. Terrible workmanship. And it's not stock by no means. And by looking at this, it's hard to tell, but it's just kind of slapped together. And I'm really worried about driving this car, the safety of this car, because I finally was able to drive it on the expressway. I was doing about 80 kilometers an hour and the thing starts shaking. So I thought, okay, well, maybe it's the tires, you know, but I've been driving this at, 55, 60 kilometers an hour, doing short trips, and it hasn't had any problems. But once you hit about 80, it just starts shaking. So I realized that there's definitely a problem. Something else that I saw the other day is down here. It says BNR. This has been replaced. It's been at a definitely been to some sort of a junkyard. I forget what they call it, trans case, something like that. They basically, it's just not a BNR34 GTR motor. I also looked at the what do you call that? The serial number that's on the block. I believe it's somewhere towards the front, this area right here. Anyways, I was able to, I think I see it. I was able to locate some documentation for Nissan through a friend of mine that works for Nissan in Japan. And we verified that the block seems to fall within the R34 generation, but it just, everything else is just not matching up. Okay, so really worried about the structural integrity of this car, especially because of all the vibration that it had just doing 80 kilometers an hour. It's just ridiculous. Let's see, I believe that was about it that I found in the front so far. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to get on the bottom of the car yet, but has some major issues elsewhere. So again, it's just hacked up. This strut tower is actually different from the one that they had in the original posting as well. And these hoses are different. Just, I don't understand why, unless the car was crashed between the point of purchase, and that's probably why it took 2 months, 3 months to get the car through maintenance and get any kind of a update on it. The other thing that was interesting was I got an email stating that the fenders had cracked. Okay, they had some cracks in it, so they put some look-alike Z-Tune type fenders, new ones, on it. The other fenders that was supposed to come with the car actually had a slit in it over here and was a little bit unique, but nonetheless, it really makes me think, why did you go, why did they go through all this trouble? It must have been a major accident, and the motor, I think, is completely different. The other thing that I noticed is that this color is darker than these other ones here. It's kind of hard to see. You might be able to tell the difference, but this is R34 GTR. These are much lighter. These have been repainted. So let's go ahead and move back to the trunk where there's some more issues. Okay, so looking from the outside in, the trunk alignment was okay. It didn't look like it was off, so it didn't spark any major interest until later when I started noticing all these items have been replaced. And so I said, okay, I'm going to take a look at inside. And sure enough, this whole thing has been replaced. And what a slop job. I mean, just no care whatsoever. It's ridiculous. And right here you can start seeing that it's starting to rust a little bit just because it's not sealed. And if you can, I'm not sure if you can see or not, but this hole goes straight down to nothing. Nothing is what do you call it? Bolted down. So you can't, it's hard to see. Maybe if I cover the light, maybe you can tell that it's, yeah, there it goes. So you can see that it goes all the way through. All of these holes do the same thing. It's just kind of hard to get it with the, yeah, see this one too? Okay. The other thing I noticed is on an R34 GTR, this section is different as well. These are not, that's not normal. So I'm not sure if this is from an ER34 trunk or exactly what they got this from, but it's just hacked up. Okay. This is unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. So by seeing this much work that's been done to it, leads me to think that the car had probably been crushed in the rear and they had to replace it. Okay. The other problem was there's supposed to be another bar here for additional support, and it's not there. And the other thing that gave it away is there's broken glass. Okay, there's broken glass down here that has paint on top of it, and this glass is just found everywhere, all the way in the cracks back there, and just it clearly shows and tells that this has been repainted. There's been work done in here, and I mean, just looking at that, you can tell right off the bat. We cover these holes, but you know, there was one there before. It's just I'm in lost of words. You know, I might sound pretty calm right now on the video, but when I first saw this, I was extremely upset. This is not what I paid for. And I don't even know. There's some kind of pad back here. So maybe the side's been worked on as well. Maybe this was crushed in and they fixed it a little bit. I don't even know. But that's that. And lastly, about a week ago, whenever I was driving on the expressway, because of the vibrations, I got worried. I said, you know, something's wrong with this car. So I said, I'll take the back roads and go slow. So I was doing about 55, maybe 60 kilometers an hour. And then all of a sudden I hear this clunk, 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 clunk noise. And come to find out, I thought it was the propeller shaft or, you know, drive shaft. In Japan they say propeller. But then I realized, let's go down here, see if I can see it here. The rear axle, let's see if I can get it on camera here. Completely fell out, all the bolts. It's hard to do this underneath the car right here. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, so those bolts fell out, and then I was left stranded up north. Some pretty gnarly pictures of it that I sent on the report, and it's just, it makes me wonder, you know, how do bolts just disappear? I mean, clearly they weren't torqued correctly, but it just tells me that this car has been pieced together, and whoever maintenanced on it or did the maintenance on it did not do a good job, and it's not in a condition that people should drive it. There's no way I'm going to drive this car. It's completely unacceptable. It's going to fall apart, and I will never have any family member in this car. So something needs to be done to rectify this issue. It's completely unacceptable. So hopefully this video has covered most of the things. Let me go ahead and show the kilometers on the car. It's at 33,313. 391 kilometers been put on the car since I received it. Actually, about 20 kilometers of that was already on the car before I got it. So, anyways, extremely disappointed with the quality. I feel like I was misled to purchasing a pieced together scrap car, and there's no way that I'm going to drive this vehicle, and something needs to be done about it. Okay, so I'm doing this video for Japan partner. That way, Mr. I believe his name is Sergei Takahashi will be able to work with me and hopefully get me a car that's not jacked up like this, and or somehow rectify this issue monetarily. I'm not sure what we're going to do, but this is absolutely unacceptable.